Well, here we go, people, and welcome to the Kiwi Millennial podcast. And yes, we're going to be covering a lot of news and what we'll be expecting in the next 3 years after. Hello. Oh, anyone can hear. I just hear my own voice. Forgot to mute it though on Dlive, so. Yes, I am doing Dlive because I don't have 1,000 subs on YouTube, people, and to know that, and there's lemons if you're feeling generous, people, and there they are. And there's lemon, ice cream, diamond, a ninja guinea, and a ninja jet. So if you're feeling generous, feel free to donate. And it will help me to support the stream as well. And of course, this will also be on YouTube here, and yes, this will be on YouTube and BitTube. Well, after 8 p.m. New Zealand time, so yeah, New Zealand 8 p.m. New Zealand daylight time. So, well, any further ado, let's just begin. And from what's up with that, Victoria's New Zealand MP urged to apply COVID-19 lessons to climate crisis. Yeah, it's a note that, we got to, this is the opportunity to, yeah, people, good, sorry, yeah, sorry. Yet the New Zealand MP Ardern urged to apply crisis skill to climate change. Environmentalists urged re-elected who won the praise for her handling of the pandemic to double down on fossil fuels and farming emissions. New Zealand re-elected parliamentarians should use the skills and successfully of crushing the threat of COVID-19 to focus on green recovery and help farmers tackle climate change in a nuclear-free moment. Well, to know that climate change is never an issue, it's a scare tactics being used to push their agenda. That's what it's all being used. So let's go to the next article, and they say, we need to act now. The major New Zealand climate report says that worse forest warm winter is already here. Well, to know that the warm winters won't be lasting too long. So they really want to tell us to say, we gotta do something. They say, there's all the fire risks over there, yeah, because they're drying up the land with all the geoengineering and putting all the sparkler dust in the land, yeah, because that's where all the chemtrails are sprayed in the sky. They want to tell us that droughts are increasing. Of course, it's been engineered by with geoengineering, spraying all those particulates in the sky. So, and of course, in the next article, you're going to see the new carbon dioxide from waste wood to use in horticulture. Yep, and so if you think it's a problem, why not use it in the greenhouse? Yet, and so the Hotline Lab had developed a way to capture carbon dioxide from wood waste and use it in the greenhouse where it helps plant grows faster. So plants do grow faster, so it really contradicts what they're really saying. It contradicts. Crying out loud, they say the CO2 is good, but no, it's bad, no, it's good. It contradicts what they really saying. So and of course, over in Australia, we know that Scott Morris at least not gone along with the climate agenda. So, Well, well, what's in this climate agenda? Well, we're going to be about to find out and say that, oh, need to go back here. The global takeover is underway, analysed by Dr. Joseph, and fact check there, and story in the glass. According to Will Oxford, we will own nothing. By 2030, we will own nothing and be happy about. Really? I don't think so. Sometimes when you own something, you feel good about it. Terms like the Great Reset, the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and the build back of the build better or refers to long-term globalist agenda to dismantle democracy, national borders in the favour of global governments by elected leaders and reliance on technology surveillance rather than the rule of law to maintain public order. Yeah, I'm going to just get through here, and they tell us that you will own nothing. The US won't be the world leading superpower. You won't die wanting for an organ donor. You will eat less meat. Yes, cause they want us to take meat. Because they know meat's healthy. They know because they want us to eat the lab crap. Yes, the lab crap. And also all those other GMOs as well. 1 billion people will be displaced by climate change. Yet as a result, countries will be prepared to welcome more refugees. To know that climate refugees is it's a scam just to bring all those people from African third world nations into. Polluters will have to pay to emit CO2. Well, yeah, so just the breathing out, you have to pay to breathe out, really. Because we all breathe out CO2. There is not one human being that doesn't breathe out CO2. And we all breathe out CO2. We return their life back to the plants because plants breathe it in. Just like what they're using. Because you can actually use the emission to make plants grow better. The emissions in that though, and so you could be prepared to go to Mars. The Western value has been tested to the breaking point. And pandemics are tools of social control. Yes, we've seen that in play. And now we're going to go to the we can run to by the Corbyn report. Yes. Yeah, the Corbyn report. Where is it there? Where the run to? I'm going to be going to only through some key parts.
The case-demic, in which case I guess I could recommend you go to New Zealand, but I would not recommend you go to New Zealand because that is the shining example of the type of totalitarian police state that they're going to roll out in the name of stopping the case-demic. Until every single case is squelched out of this country, we're going to lock down and we're going to strictly enforce things. And now look, now they only have, what is it, one case now? So they just had a rugby game and everybody came, tens of thousands of people in the stands arm to arm, and they can do this because they locked it down to an insane extent that no one else was willing to based on a handful of cases. Yay. So no, I mean, if you're looking to escape the coronavirus, move to New Zealand, but don't move to New Zealand. If you're looking to escape the insanity, it's very much a crapshoot and one that is going to change.
Well, that'll be it though. I was only planning to play a part of it though, so. Well, we're going to be moving on to here to Ashley Bloomfield, the absolute muppet. On during Brittany's tweet though, lots of experience, lots of things, including the board on CO. Wait a minute. Where is it? Where's that Bloomfield? There we are.
Of health as part of our overall national response
Yeah, Ashley Bloomfield. Ugh. The absolute muppet.
to this new outbreak. I am now directing medical officers of health that all cases, confirmed cases, are to be managed in a quarantine facility. Now, this is different to how positive cases were managed when we were last at levels 4 and indeed 3, and shows how serious we are about limiting any risk of ongoing transmission, even in self-isolation and including to others in the household. This will apply to any cases and also close family members who might be at risk as appropriate. A reminder, these facilities have been set up specifically and have excellent processes and resources in place to look after people with COVID-19, including health staff on site at all times, and it will help us avoid any further inadvertent spread into the community as part of our overall response.
If someone refuses in our facilities to be tested, they have to keep staying. So they won't be able to leave after 14 days. They have to stay on for another 14 days. So it's a pretty good incentive. You either get your tests done and make sure you're cleared, or we will keep you in a facility longer. So I think most people will look at that and say, I'll take the test. I've got a number of questions about people refuse. What do we do if someone refuses to be tested? Well, they can't now. If someone refuses in our facilities to be tested, they have to keep staying. So they won't be able to leave after 14 days. They have to stay on for another 14 days. So it's a pretty good incentive. You either get your tests done and make sure you're cleared, or we will keep you in a facility longer. So I think most people will look at that and say, I'll take the test.
Yeah, see, they're actually coercing the test. They say, hey, you either take the test or you're going to have to stay in for another 2 more weeks. Or about prison, though, it's just say, oh, you have to take the test. Oh, it says in that says, oh, this it says, lie there in a quarantine 5-star hotel. They are quarantine camps promote. They can either get laundry done and for a 2 week stay if positive, move to another star hotel if well, free healthcare. Yeah, so people, man, we did in New Zealand, we are in some dark times. New Zealand like to nasty can buy following. Yet our news like to gaslight because if they do get exposed, because they know they are got a lot to hide. That's what, yeah, we're starting to see colours of our mainstream true colours. Oh yeah, I just watched that there as well, and or they could be detained without charge of any crime until I agree to be tested and it's negative, so you have to be tested. I don't think that's more depressing than having that stress is about something. Turn off nasty, it's too painful how it's happening. Yeah, people, man, they text me, it breaks my heart that anyone believes that Ardern is kind. What she's doing to human is inhuman. Yes, what she's doing is inhuman, so. 2 of your best friends missed their mom's death and funeral because they were locked in a hotel isolation. Oh, yeah, that's horrible. When they came back for the funeral, they can't go to the funeral because, well, even they were tested negative, they can't really go, so. Yeah, and of course, there's going to be a lockdown being planned as well, sometime around as early as November, so. Yeah, there you go. Power Mad, state primary government and prime minister across Australia, the US, the UK, Canada, and New Zealand may try to push another Dan Andrews style second wave virus attack of the Gates, Rockefeller, and World Economic Forum push for global vaccination Agenda 21. The new normal is a new economy, yet they are pushing their new normal. And Canadian politicians in the loop of COVID pandemic, they've been told in the horror plans for authoritarian response and international economical collapse involving a federal government offer to eliminate all personal debts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, etc. funded by the RNF under the World Reset Program. Yet they want to bring in that reset what they want us to be, and they want us to be in that new normal, but we're not going to be accepting the new normal. Now, of course, I said cover that on lockstep on Whanaka Liberty, which will soon be called the Millennial Kiwi. So, I received a phone on Facebook and I had a snapshot on their mobile phone. It says there, and I'm going to read parts of it. So, and once public goes back to normal, wait a few weeks, then continue it over high pressure strain mortality. Right, August September 2020, and combine it with the increase of deaths due to the people dying from standard illness at a higher rate than normal, having a highly weakened immune system for months being in isolation. Yeah, so they know that being in isolation starts and social distancing does weaken your immune system. They know that. To further the pad of the mortality rate and hype the coming phase 2 lockdown. Eventually, phase 2 quarantine from October to November on an even more extreme level, and blame the protesters, mostly people who don't trust their government already, for a larger second wave. We told you so, it was too early, and this is all your faults. Of course, you needed a haircut, your freedoms had consequences, yet they want to tell us that our freedom have consequences. You must give it up. Well, I need to actually go and get a glass of water, so I'll be back. And you don't want to tell us that freedom has consequences, say you must give it up for the greater good. That's horrible. Nah, not having any of that. That's how enforce the phase 2 quarantine at a more extreme level, increasing the penalty for the fines. Replace fines with jail time, then all travel as non-essential, include checkpoints, include military assistance, increase tracking and tracing of population, mandatory apps, take over control of food, gas on a large scale shortage so that people can only have access to essential products if they are given permission. So, boy, they're going to deem all travel non-essential. So if you're going to go traveling, or you're doing a non-essential thing. They say keep the phase 2 pace and much longer the period of time than the phase 1. continue destroying the supply line and further the information of the food supply and that all like. So, oh boy, so. And they say it could go on for at least 6 months and they could roll out the vaccination program and the certificate. Just what Bill Gates has said. Yeah, and I'm going to bring that back to what Bill Gates has said. And I'm going to go there and watch it now.
But you don't have a choice. People act like you have a choice. People don't feel like going to the stadium when they might get infected. You know, it's not the government who's saying, okay, just ignore this disease. And, you know, people are deeply affected by seeing these deaths, by knowing they could be part of the transmission chain. And, you know, old people, their parents, their grandparents could be affected by this. And so you don't get to say, ignore what's going on here. There will be the ability, particularly in rich countries, to open up if things are done well over the next few months. But for the world at large, normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population. And so...
Well, people, wow. And that's Bill Gates. He says, things will not go back to normal unless you get vaccinated. Wow, people, wow. And yes, so they can roll out the vaccination program. Yeah. The Bill Gates he say, oh, you don't have a choice. If you want to live a normal life, you have to get vaccinated. For crying out loud, it's all a plan, people. It's all a plan, and yeah, if they don't, if the second wave, they might bring in the third wave, but only if people don't go along with it. And they might keep the lockdown much longer than the second. Of course and even that first restore here, the first lockdown, it really undermined my spirit, really. And I'm about to go to what David was saying. No, yet I'm comparing. Yeah, Dave Colin and yeah, around 7 minutes of it. So I'm gonna go here. We start here.
You could say it's a little bit too exact there, but we know that they want us to be tied into a digital population control grid, as James Corbett has described it, with the health passports. You won't be able to go anywhere unless they tell you that you're healthy or not. And in fact,
well, people, wow, unless you're so healthy, unless you've been proven healthy, wow. And that's when the certificates comes into play, and that's what Bill Gates was saying about it. He really wants to force people to either get vaccinated or you're not going to go back to normal. That's really insane.
In fact, there was something that he mentioned in one of his recent videos on the Great Reset. It's a 72-minute video that he made, and it's well worth watching. But I did want to bring up something. Because we're constantly told how everything's going to change and automation is coming in, largely because of social distancing. Actually, that's what social distancing was designed to do, to make human contact and therefore human productivity virtually impossible, but and therefore break down industries and force the acceleration of automation. But there was an article back in March 20th, 2020 of this year, and it's on the Financial Times. Yuval Noah Harari, The World After Coronavirus. And again, it's one of these kinds of articles that you and I went through in the beginning of this, way back in March, April, when suddenly they were just telling us how the world was going to be very suspiciously. And I wanted to read a passage from this because it ties into something that Dan Andrews has recently said in Premier Victoria. And so this article, it says, the emergency pudding. One of the problems we face in working out where we stand on surveillance, and we know that we're going to have more technology, more surveillance around us and potentially in our bodies, is that none of us know exactly how we are being surveilled and what the coming years might bring. Surveillance technology is developing at breakneck speed, and what seemed science fiction 10 years ago is today old news. And this is what, again, James, is a few people, actually, Catherine Austin Fitz, when she was talking to Alex Jones recently, was saying the thing that people have to grapple with, John, is the fact that they have technology now that is almost like magic. We actually have to realize they have incredible technologies. As a thought experiment, consider a hypothetical government that demands that every citizen wears a biometric bracelet that monitors body temperature and heart rate 24 hours a day. This is not going to sound so crazy when I play this clip from Dan Andrews in a moment. The resulting data is hoarded and analyzed by government algorithms. The algorithms will know that you are sick even before you know it. And they will also know where you have been and who you have met. The chains of infection would be drastically shortened. So this would be a recipe for absolute control at any time. You could flip a switch and go, sorry, John, I know you were planning to go for a walk today, but that's not going to happen because you're sick and you don't even realize you're sick. But that's what we've set as a precedent. People who are healthy are being told that they're sick when they're not. And now everybody who's healthy believes that other healthy people are potentially sick. Therefore, we have to wear a mask and keep away from each other. So the real virus, John, the real illness, the mental illness is this humophobia that everybody has now of each other, and this germophobia, and even cut all together. So such a system could arguably stop the epidemic in its tracks within days. Sounds wonderful, right? No, it sounds awful. This downside is, of course, let's just trust the human immune system instead. How about that?
Yes,
instead of a technocracy. The downside is, of course, that this would
system.
give legitimacy to a terrifying new
Immune
surveillance system. If you know, for example, that I clicked on Fox News link rather than a CNN link, then you can that can teach you something about my political views and perhaps even my personality. But if you can monitor what happens to my body temperature, blood pressure, and heart rate as I watch the video clip, you can learn what makes me laugh, what makes me cry, what makes me really, really angry. It is crucial to remember that anger, joy, boredom, love are a biological phenomenon, just like fever and a cough. The same technology that identifies coughs could also identify laughs. If corporations and governments start harvesting our biometric data en masse, they can get to know us far better than we know ourselves, and they can, which is what they've always wanted, I suppose, is absolute slavery, and they can then not just predict our feelings, but also manipulate our feelings and sell us anything they want, be it a product or a politician. Biometric monitoring could make Cambridge Analytica's data hacking tactics look like something from the Stone Age. Imagine North Korea in 2030, where every citizen has to wear a biometric bracelet 24 hours a day. If you listen to a speech by the great leader and the bracelet picks up the telltale signs of anger, you are done for. And what I wanted to play with you, I know I've kind of...
Well, people, that's how you have to have that bracelet on for 24/7. If it picks up any emotion that deems that, or if you say and you get angry, or you feel like you're going to get angry, or you don't feel comfortable, they're going to say, oh boy, he's not that comfortable, we're going to have to put away. Sounds scary, people.
I've gone off here now a bit, but what I wanted to play for you was a clip by Dan Andrews, and he's talking about people travelling into the country. Let's just listen to this for a second.
Interpret the Prime Minister to be saying, and I'm sure if I'm not accurate, somebody will point that out.
Absolute my part.
That the notion that everyone who returns from everywhere goes into 14 days of a hotel, that may not be the policy going forward as we look to the entirety of 2021, for instance, not knowing when a vaccine turns up. That would then mean that you've got options, and one of those options might be to say to people, and other countries in the world are doing this, here is an electronic device that means we can be certain about where you are, but there is some technology that can actually monitor your vital signs as well, so it becomes something that's not just to ensure you stay where you're supposed to stay, it's also a way in which we can monitor whether you're healthy or otherwise.
It's really amazing, John, that during this so-called...
Well, people, man, this is really scary stuff, man. What they're trying to roll out, man, that needs to be stopped at all costs, though. Man, for crying out loud. So let's just skip over for like an hour ahead, because I know I'm not going to watch the whole thing because that is way too long.
John, that's a very good way of putting it. I think that's also a great way of leaving it there. I think honestly we have a few months to reach some sort of critical mass within a small. Again, people say, how you look at the amount of masks. We need to forget about the amount of masks that's there. It's the small percentage of people who start to say, I'm not gonna. As long as we get to a stage where there's going to be enough people awake, where there's a small amount of people who aren't wearing the mask in the shops or who are not going along with the mandates.
Well, I'm going to come back later on. I'm going to start again. Yeah, I'll come back to it later on, so I ain't going to. But that's right at the end here. Well, that's the comments, which I'll get to it soon. And of course, we're going to be going through the vaccines, and of course, the Brazilian volunteer at Oxford University COVID-19 dies after taking the placebo. Wow. The Brazilian surveillance agency knows the death of during the Oxford vaccine trial on Monday, October 19th, announced the tragic news on Wednesday. Wow, people. Wow. Wow. Yeah, and there's also a problem that as well. They decide to continue. And yet from ABC News Australia, Brazilian Oxford trial volunteer die. Authorities say the trial is safe to continue. Really? And do you know what that happened? That actually also goes against the Nuremberg Code, because when you do a medical experiment on somebody, if a person likes dying that means an experiment must be terminated immediately, according to the Nuremberg Code. For crying out loud, people, they say it's safe to continue. That goes against the Nuremberg Code. Let's read it. Let's say that in Code 10. During the course of the experiment, the scientist in charge must be prepared to terminate the experiment at any stage if he has probable cause to believe in the exercise of good faith, superior skill, and careful judgment require of him that the continuation of the experiment is likely to result in injury, disability, or death to the experimental subject. So they must be prepared to terminate the experiment at any stage. And at any stage. But they just say, it's safe to continue, and that goes against the Nuremberg Code. There it is, people, the Nuremberg Code. Right there. Yep, right there. Wow. And they say it's safe to continue. That tells you something that actually goes against the Nuremberg Code. Well, now of course, UK could get 40 million COVID vaccine jabbed by the new year as pre begins rollout. And the volunteer just died for an experiment. And they say, let's just roll it out. That's madness. And they won't let me read it unless I start my free trial, which I ain't gonna do. And of course, let's go to the evidence. Say, let the evidence speak. Did vaccines save us? Yeah, you see developed nations mortality from diseases decline from dramatically before the vaccines came in. Wow. Let's go to the graph, and this is from the measles. You can see how high the mortality rate of measles is. And boy, the measles vaccine introduced 1968. Right there, it's just on the way down. It's pretty much the disease is like gone. Pretty much gone before the vaccination had even returned. In the USA, mortality rate, yeah, the measles vaccine introduced. Matt, look at that. Mortality rate is already on the way there. And the whooping cough, on the way down. Yeah, on the way down. Whooping cough in Australia, it was already on the way down before the rise of mass vaccination came. Well, people, well, and that's all I gotta say. I'm gonna look at it right now, and the link will be down there below. So, and of course, the face masks, and this one's from David Icke. During neurologists warn against wearing face masks. Oxygen depletion causes permanent neurological damage, and it is worse for kids. Man, boy, sometimes I see kids wearing masks when I go walking about as well. Some people are stupid. Yeah, masks, yeah, they are. Yeah, you don't need to wear them. And it doesn't protect you from the disease. And of course, the media likes to gaslight you. They say, oh, if you don't wear a mask, it links to anti-social, and they saying they tend to be hostile or deceitful just for not wearing masks. And they say real men don't wear masks between masculinity and face country. Oh, toxic masculinity. You're not wearing face masks if you. They want to tell us that we are damn terrible people if we don't wear masks. Well, I'm about to watch one from Joel Salente on Infowars.com. Let's go to that now. Where is it? Here? Where is it? Oh, there it is. There, 4:13. There we go. We start here.
Maybe we should be mandating it. Now, there's a real little mascubator. That's the little clown boy that back in March was saying, no, you don't have to wear those masks. No. And again, one study after another saying how ineffective they are. There he is. There's the mascubator, saying that you don't have to wear them. But he's a little nothing of a nobody that gets paid off to put out as well. Here's a box of the masks that most people use. Jointown face mask with air loops, Safe Shield technology, adjustable and soft nose piece. Yeah, so when you stick your nose in, as a brown noser, and you know why they call them brown noses? Efficient filtered media, soft and comfortable ear loops. Great. Cold mask down over nose. Yep. These masks help protect against certain particulate contaminants, but do not eliminate exposure to the risk of any disease or infection. Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why would I wear it if it's not going to protect me against a certain particulate?
Yeah.
But do not eliminate exposure to the risk of any disease or infection. Huh.
Well.
They do not eliminate exposure to the risk of any disease or infection. But these are the stupid things that everybody wears. These little blue things.
Yeah.
And they come on out of the box. Come on out of the box. Here we go. Here they are. And then you see the stupid prostitutes doing the news with the microphone under their nose and then telling you what to say. And people gobbling when they talk. You get, oh, it's going down. These things do nothing. They fog your glasses up. And everybody wears them. Brainwashed. Brainwashed.
Exactly.
Oh, that was one of our great Anthony Frida, along with Stephen Green, covers of our Trends Journal. Brainwashed with crap.
Yeah. Absolute crap, because they watch too much crap news. Yes, and that's one from Joel Salente, and of course here. Oh, so those hazmat suits. Well, I'm gonna go here though, because the news is maybe copyrighted, so. So, the music, so I'm just gonna have it off. For crying out loud. Really? So they have a battery, really? And they're probably gonna be selling those things as well, really? And of course, well, people, and this is from one from the Environmental Health Watch. It says Jacinda COVID. How do we I'm not sure how we say. How do we take our country back? Well, Jacinda is now the poster politician of the world. She crossed the curve and showed the world how to act early and efficiently to defeat this unprecedented threat to New Zealand and the world. Sounds good, looks good, but we can quite rightfully be a proud Kiwi leading the world, or can we? Yeah, she might. Yeah, because she was president, and the news media says that, whoa, she is the most profound leader. She cared for the virus. Well, she knows she's been pointing people try to take our guns away, because the reason why, because she wants to begin her agenda of depopulation, of democide. Because democide begins when people, because that's why they want to take our guns away, so we can't defend ourselves. It's Jacinda Ardern doesn't want us safe, she wants to keep herself safe on us. That's the idea why she wants to take the guns away. Now, of course, people are now getting fed up though, at least people like Piers Corbyn, he knows he's been getting threatened by the police and that though. Or he He's against lockdowns. He's against the greater good. Oh, we need to target him. Alright, we'll send some police over there to get him. Yeah, cause man, well, good on you, Piers Corbyn, for doing that. I know you have the courage in that, though, and you've been speaking out against the scam, the climate scam, which they're trying to push on as well. And it's all planned, people, and yes. Wow. And now I'm going to go to the rural media. They're breaking there's 2 restaurants to open defying lockdown. Wow. People, and there's 2 restaurants here. They say, well, we're just going to open up. I don't care. We're just opening up. Because he really wants to save his business. He doesn't want his business to go under. Yes, it's just, although you can actually really watch it, but it is starting to get close to an hour, people, and I still got 1 video to go through, and, well, people, I am going to go to the second lockdown, back to computing forever, and I'm going to watch the remaining 4 minutes.
John, that's a very good way of putting it. I think that's also a great way of leaving it there. I think, honestly, we have a few months to reach some sort of critical mass within a small... Again, people say, how you look at the amount of masks. We need to forget about the amount of masks that's there. It's the small percentage of people who start to say, I'm not going to... As long as we get to a stage where there's going to be enough people awake, where there's a small amount of people who aren't wearing the mask in the shops or who are not going along with the mandates, that only has to be a couple of percent, or maybe 3 or 4%. We have to reach that stage. But the other thing that I've said to a few people now at the moment, I talked about this is the love affair. We now shifted from the government to NEFIT. And this is how, I suppose, Paddy kind of doesn't take responsibility for his own intuition and his own sort of discovery himself. He delays his own awakening. But it will collapse. And these people who've been screaming for lockdowns, eventually... look, we're headed for a winter. Winters are dark, winters are cold in Ireland, and this is not going to be like the summer where you could go out for a jog across the fields. It's going to be cold. People are not going to want to go out, and there's nothing to do. And now, to make matters worse, the businesses that people suspected were going to come back are not going to come back because they're going to be gone. And so that's the other thing that's amazed me, and maybe we could have talked about that, which is all the coping mechanisms, the nightclubs, the cinemas, the bars, all aspects of social life. This young generation, maybe this is enough for them, right? Maybe that's enough for them, that they don't actually need human interaction. I'm amazed that they didn't go crazy.
Can I offer people a 3-word prescription for how to use this time? Read the Russians.
Read the Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed that this is the young people just don't want to go out and be amongst each other all that much. They seem to be content to sit at home and collect the Super Dole and watch Netflix, and I have no idea. It's absolutely crazy. But what I will say is that to that point, it's going to take a lot of pain. Unfortunately, Paddy's going to learn the hard way, and it's going to take a lot more pain. But what will happen is that eventually it will become really unpopular to virtue signal and scream for more lockdowns and more restrictions. And we'll have to get to that point where even the believers who go, well, I wear the mask and I socially distance and I do all of these things, but damn sure not. How dare you ask for another lockdown? Don't you know that they cause more harm? When we get to that level where it becomes unpopular, then we have an opportunity to see that gradual plateau and then a drop the other way.
That's also a dangerous moment, because that's when the battens come out. Because the people cease policing each other and start to become the real solidarity interest in then, as opposed to the pseudo solidarity, and then the battens come out against everybody. That moment will come,
and it will come, and it's at that point where, well, sadly, we will be vindicated, but at the same time, people will see the teeth of the state. They'll see the
Yes.
boot of the state. They'll see the baton, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, that's what this was always all about, and that's what this was about from the very beginning." John, if there's anything you want to leave it on, or should we?
Well, that's all, people, and yes, well, we had to come to our own awakening, and people will not wake up unless they go through a lot of pain and hardship. That's when they probably will wake up. And there was a good words from the Computing Forever and with John's Water, and well, I ain't going to go through and read the comments, and this one's from Low Dude. First, there was no quarantine camps in New Zealand. Now the idea was made out in the US. They are hotels, but they're being used as camps, people. It has been used as camps. And the remainder cities at the Jet Park Hotel, which is, and this is in Auckland there. It looks more like the most. Anyone arriving in New Zealand has a quarantine and hotel under New Zealand law. They can't be tested against their own will. Well, Jacinda Ardern just said it. It really contradicts though, and day 12, if negative, they get to leave. If not, they stay a full turn. Nah. You stay 14 days. And he replies, "You are in the room for a rude awakening. Ardern is one of the sickest criminals on earth today. Just in the fact she said you can't leave until you are negative is a crime against humanity. That's a buck tooth. You fucking murderer." I said it. I really said it. It is forcing and locking you up, human beings, against our own will. Go and read it on yourself on the CDC website. They admit they can't even isolate the virus. The virus doesn't exist. The PCR tests are designed to be all positive. Doesn't mean that means no one is ever to leave the prison camp. Wake up, Kiwis. This is a population extermination. She is in bed with Bill Gates. Yes, of course she is. She was actually in the Gold Conference, though, hosted by the Bill and Melinda Gates. They say, "Oh, not true. We have absolute freedom in New Zealand. There's no place where we be right now." Well, we are losing them. We are losing them. Our freedom of speech are under attack. We actually stand to lose a lot more freedoms as well. Remember the time that you actually out the smoking bars and that and cabs and that, but that was like before 2004, end of 2004, but till they passed a law that says that now no longer you can't smoke in bars and that anymore. You know that the pro rights have been undermined. Do you have a tongue? Of course. You say, "Do you have a?" Of course I do. Well, people, I know there's a lot to say though, and I might probably think on my next part, it's probably what we can do to sort of do something that what the New World Order doesn't like growing our own food and that though. I might talk about that on my next podcast or have it planned though. So people, this is all I gotta say for now. This is the Millennial Kiwi signing off, over and out. I'll see you next Friday, 8 AM New Zealand Daylight Time. And I'll see you around. Bye bye.